Okay, so welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. As you can see there, it's called Team Building for Beginners. I'm recording this webinar. I record all the webinars, and at the end of the webinar, I'll explain where the recordings are, so that if there's anything that I go through that you're kind of not sure of or you want to go back over, then you can do that as well. This is one of a series of 8 webinars that I run. Call them the Kleeneze Circle of Success. As you can see tonight, we're doing number 4, team building, and 1, 2, and 3 are really about the retail side of the business, getting started, kind of getting to your first meetings, making sure you're in touch with your sponsor and so on, starting to build that customer base. And then this week and next week is all about the team building side, and then the last 3 are really the kind of the personal development side, setting your goals and how important your attitude is to your success. These are all recorded, so if you just joined, for example, and you'd really like to go through the one about getting started, then you can watch the recording of the last one that we did of that. You don't have to wait kind of 4 or 5 weeks to get round to that point. And as I said, I'll show you at the end where they all are. Okay, so team building. What are we going to go through today? This should take us about half an hour or so. A question I'm going to ask you all in a minute is whether or not you have to build a team to be a Kleeneze distributor, whether you should build a team, and if you decide you do want to, then what tools do you need, a little bit about how to get started. I'm going to talk to you about rods in the pond. If you've been to any of our trainings before, any trainings in your local opportunity meetings, etc., you'll have heard of this term, so I'll explain what we mean by that. I'll then say what you should be doing when you get a lead. It's all very well kind of starting to do a bit of team building, but what if somebody actually says, oh yes, I'd like some more information please. I'll explain a bit about what information to send your new prospects, and then the importance of following up at the end. So, quick question, do you have to build a team to be a successful Kleeneze distributor? What do people think? Quick yes or no? No, no, no. From Katrina, Guy, no. Lots of people saying no. Oh, I don't know. You guys have all been on this before, I'm sure. Yes, the answer of course is no, you don't have to build a team. There are people in the business who are heavy retailers who are earning £3,000, £4,000 a month just doing their own catalogues, and I'm sure we're going to see some similar numbers with Facebook as well soon. So you don't have to build a team, and in fact most distributors don't build a team. But it's really important to know that you can, and also to know the benefits of doing so if you decide to. And quite often what you'll find is that you can become a team builder by accident. This could be just something as simple as, you're talking to your friends or on Facebook or whatever, saying, how things are going and that it's going really well. Somebody might say to you, oh, crikey, do you know if they're looking for people in my area? Because I could do with a bit of extra money. And of course, you can then just say, oh yeah, no problem at all. I'll get my upline, my sponsor, to send you some information. And that could be your first team member. Or customers. I quite often find people, and I've certainly got a couple of people in my team who were customers of mine. So they know the product, they ordered me, they ordered from me, they ordered from the catalogue, so they knew how it all worked. And there came a time when they were looking to earn some extra money, and they said, Chris, could we become Kleeneze distributors? So even if you're not intending to be actively team building, it's useful to know that you can be, because if those people don't join your team, they may well join somebody else's. So, now that you know that it would be possibly would be worth building a team, why should you do so? Well, when it comes to the bottom line, you can earn a much bigger income building a team than you can doing the catalogues on your own. The other thing, and in a way this is almost a bigger benefit, the fact is that if you're doing a lot of retail yourself, and you'll see the guys on the table to the top retailers earning large amounts of money, and that's fantastic, but because we're self-employed, you only get paid when you're delivering your catalogues, when you're able to service your customers. So if you're ever ill or you're away on holiday, now I have to say this has changed ever so slightly with Facebook, because obviously you can still do Facebook from your sick bed, and even if you're on holiday, although if you are on holiday you should really be taking a bit of a break. But certainly from the catalogue point of view, obviously if you're away you can't deliver your catalogue so easily. There are ways around it. You can do long drops and so on. But the point I'm making here is, suppose you twist an ankle or you break a leg or something, it's really difficult to then keep that volume of catalogues going if you're kind of in a hospital bed. Whereas as the team leader, obviously if you've got a team of people doing it, even if you're not able to do your own retail, then your team will continue doing theirs, because they're obviously still earning money for themselves. So let's suppose you decide to get into team building. What tools do you need? So, great place to start, and there's a little list I'm going to go through in a moment, is EasyReach. EasyReach is a telephone training system, really like a voice message system that Gavin Scott uses, and sends messages down all the time from little stories from new starters, or kind of inspirational stories from people who have been in the business for a while. And these are great to kind of share with your prospects. And also it's really important to just be aware of different kinds of people who join the business for different reasons. You might have joined because you were worried about financial security when you're reaching retirement age, so you just wanted to help your pension, if you like. If you're then talking to a young mum who says, well, I'm not sure if I could do this because I've got a couple of young kids, you might not have any personal sort of practice or any knowledge of that. But if you've been listening to stories come down from single mums who have had 2 kids and this is how they've dealt with it, then you can pass those stories on to your prospects to say, yeah, I know a lady, Abigail or Susie or Mary or whoever, who is exactly in the same position as you. This is what she did and this is what she's able to get out of it. And that just kind of helps you when you're talking to prospects. That Katrina, fantastic. They're single mum on benefits. The number of times we hear from people in your situation, Katrina, and they're kind of worried if they can achieve it or not. So it's lovely to hear stories like Katrina's, because then we know it certainly can work, certainly does work. Okay, what else do we need? It's useful to have a diary. I'll explain a bit more about why that's useful in a moment. And that can be a notebook diary, or you can use your computer diary, whichever you prefer to use. And a lead book, and again that's just a notebook, for example, or you can keep track of things on your computer. I'll explain a bit more about these in a moment. You will definitely need a telephone, and I think some people might try to do it purely on the internet and texting and that, but you will build a business far more quickly if you can meet people or at least talk to them on the telephone. And you do need some information to send to these prospects. So, how to get started? What I suggest you do to get started is to make a list of people that you already know. This is basically just people you're going to practice on. Now, you don't know what their situation is or who they might know, and they might want to join themselves. But what you're really doing is just kind of having a little bit of practice to get up to speed, if you like, before you let yourself loose on the wide world. So make a list of people that you know. Call them up, and what we'll say, and I'll explain it in a moment, we're using what we call the third party approach. So basically what you do is you ring up your friend John, let's say, for example. Hi John, it's Chris, how are you? Fantastic, great. John, I wonder if you can do me a favour. I've just started a new little business, you might have heard of it, called Kleeneze, and I'm looking to expand, and I wondered if you could do me a favour. If I send you some information about how it works, would you take a little look at it? And if you come across somebody who might be interested, would you pass it on to them? So that's all you do. Yep, and John is your friend. He'll say, yeah, that's no problem. Send it over. I'll have a little look at it. So you can then send them some information. An email is great because you can get it to them straight away. And keep doing this. Go through your list of 10 people. Add more people to it every day. Every time you see somebody, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get feeling it. At first it might feel a bit odd, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. And then follow up a couple of days later. Hi John, it's Chris. Did you get a chance to have a look at that information? What did you think? And John might say, oh yeah, look, very interesting. If I ever come across anybody who's interested, I'll let you know. And that's exactly what you want them to say. You never know. They might say, actually, you know what? You won't believe it, but Julie's just been laid off. We could really do with something at the moment. Do you fancy popping on for a cup of tea and tell me a bit more about it? So you will get people that join you just because you happen to approach them at the right time. But the most important thing about it is what you're doing is you're sowing your seeds. You're letting John and the other 9 people and the other 20 people, the more the merrier, know that you have a way of earning some extra money. And over the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, people's circumstances change. And if John can see that you are growing your business, earning extra money, and you keep showing him that, if ever he needs to, he can come and join as well, then you can bet your bottom dollar he's going to contact you if and when his circumstances change, or if he comes across somebody whose circumstances have changed. I read a figure the other day. It's one of these throwaway figures, but they reckon everybody knows 200 people. If you were to really, really sit down and go through the list of every way you could possibly think of somebody, everybody knows 200 people. So if you know 200 people and you explain this to them and send them the information, each of those people knows 200 people as well. So even though they may not pass it all on, if they get to hear that one of their contacts, one of their friends or family members is short of a bit of money or is looking for a change, then they're going to come back to you. So 200 times 200, that's 40,000 people you can contact indirectly just by making your list of 10 people and continuing to do that and add to it every day. So that's how to get started, really. And that's once you've practiced that and you've done 10 people and a few more and a few more, you'll really feel comfortable in doing this. And the next step is to start spreading out into what we call the fish pond. That's basically the rest of the world, if you like, or at least the rest of the UK and Ireland. And we talk about, if you like, all the other people in the country are fish in this pond who may or may not be interested in earning some extra money. And a quick question for all you anglers out there. Have you ever seen any serious fishermen, serious anglers, and seen how many fishing rods they use? Anyone? Oh yeah, Amanda and Andrew. Lots. Anyone else seen any? Sean? Yeah, 3. I've seen, yeah, quite often at the end of a pier. When I go down to Bournemouth, go to the pier and you'll see fishermen, and they all seem to have more than one, don't they? Yeah, 5 or more days. Yeah, I'm not an expert at all, but you guys have got the figure, got the idea. Yeah, I think you're all right. Bob used to fish with 3. Thank you, Sue. There you go. So, oops. The point is that there are lots and lots of different ways of finding people who might be interested in earning some extra money. I'm going to go through some in a moment. And you might think of 1 or 2, and you might sort of say, I know, I'll put an ad in a newspaper, which is fine. So that's one rod, one way of getting people. But the best way to do it is to use more than one way. And as we've seen there, if you think about anglers, they do exactly the same. They will have one fishing rod that they put just at the front of the water, one that goes out a bit further, one that's a bit deeper, one that's got this kind of bait on, one that's got that kind of bait on. So they will have maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different kinds of rods just trying to attract different kinds of fish. And you need to do the same. So to get started, it's useful to have a website. I'm not going to go into any detail on how to kind of create a website. Kleeneze provides you with a couple of websites that you can use straight away. There's basically a basic lead capturing website, which is called iwanttochangemylifestyle.com, or no, I think it's .com, / and then your account number. Excuse me, speak to your sponsor on that. But you can kind of start advertising using that straight away. And if anyone clicks on that, they can just, all it says is, if you'd like some information about earning some extra money, enter your details. So it doesn't tell them it's about Kleeneze. They can enter your details. You will then get an email so that you can contact them back. You can also do something similar, pointing them to your mykleeneze.com website, again with your account number on. That will point them to the Kleeneze website, the one with the, gosh, I can't remember the actress's name, Angela Griffin. that used to be in Coronation Street, with that video on the front, and again they can then start to have a little look at some information about Kleeneze. So you can start using those from day one. You don't have to create your own website. But what you will find is that with the help of your sponsor, you should choose a domain name that you can use, and then you can start creating your own business cards and adverts and newspaper adverts and internet adverts, and doing all of that, doing all of this stuff. Thank you very much, Katrina. So Katrina's there has put a little bit of information there. I would take a little look at that. And a contact manager, if you're starting to get more than, I would say, 1 or 2 or 3 leads a week, then you need some way of keeping track of them, and a contact manager is the best way to do that. I've used a couple of different ones, but there's a good one, a company called Big Advertising. That's their website there that I've used in the past, which are pretty good. So, and I know there's 2 or 3 others as well. So what I would again suggest is speak to your sponsor or your upline, see which one they're using, and use the same, because obviously they can then help you with it. So once you've kind of got that in place, you can then start doing some advertising. So we've already talked about your warm list. I'm not going to go through this in great detail, just to give you an idea of some of the rods that you can use. So shop window adverts are a great one. You know, just the little cards, you'll have seen news agents, where you can put lots and lots of cards well, there are lots and lots of cards in the window, and you can add one. Make yours stand out. You know, use some of the ones from bids with bright pictures, or the bright fluorescent green ones. Most of the shop window adverts will be handwritten on white postcards. So if yours stands out, you're going to attract the attention. Leafleting is a great way to do it. I know Stuart Hurd and Robin Lee Hurd did some training on Andy Boswell's team webinar probably a year or so ago now, just showing the power of leafleting, and they've built a huge PSG, a huge business from doing that. So, and the beauty of leafleting is you can target a particular area. You know, whereas advertising on the internet, you might get people replying from all over the place. And obviously, if you're leafleting a particular area, you've got a lot more control over where the responses come from. Newspaper adverts, they're a good way of doing it as well. Most newspapers now also have internet sites, so you get both for that. Wearing a badge is a great way of doing it for free. One of the things that I would say about all of these different ways of finding people to earn some extra money is very few of them are actually free. They either take up some time. So for example, leafleting is a fairly cheap way of doing it, but it does take you time to do it. In my experience, probably 150 to 200 leaflets an hour. So if you're aiming to put out a lot, you know, I know Lynn Trowell you used to, I'm not sure she still does, do a lot of leafleting, and so Lynn would be able to give you some ideas as to how long it takes. But I used to find 150 to 200 leaflets an hour was as much as I could do, and that would be in quite an area with like lots of terraced houses and kind of short paths, that sort of thing. Wearing a badge is a great one. Sorry, so that's obviously relatively cheap to do, but takes your time. Things like newspaper advertising takes you no time at all. You know, you can sort of ring up a newspaper, 5 minutes later you can have an advert in there, but it costs you money. Obviously, you're going to have to pay for it. So, but there's pros and cons in whichever way you do it. There are some of them though that are probably the best of both worlds. Something like wearing a badge. If you get used to 3-foot ruling, which is just kind of chatting to people, saying, you know, as you're kind of going your separate ways, oh, I don't know if you can do me a favor. I'm just looking for people I'm just expanding my business, looking for people who might be interested in earning a bit of extra money. Can I give you my card? Or if you know anybody who's interested, would you pass this on? Something like that. And as you do more and more, like, you'd be amazed how many times you can do that in a day. And once you start doing it, you'll start seeing the leads coming in with very, very little effort, because you're not consciously doing it. Yeah, Dave Trowell, that's a good idea. That if you are wearing a badge, try putting it on upside down, because you can see the people that spot it, because you can see their kind of head turning as they're trying to see what you say, and that gives you a great little introduction. You can sort of say, "Oh, hi, sorry," I can see what you're looking at, and then kind of like a little icebreaker, you can start chatting to them then. What other rods in the pond are there? Car signs. Car signs are great because although they cost money up front to get them done, once they're there, they're just like a permanent advert following you all around the country wherever you're going, and effectively it's free advertising once you've paid for it. You can do little business cards. I take a lot of little business cards with me wherever I'm going, and you can put them in sort of just on. I normally put them in the driver's side door handle of cars if I'm in the car park, or leave them by cash machines, or you can put them in all over places. Put them up on bus stops. You can be really inventive about where you leave little business cards, and be amazed. People will just pull them up. If you could just use a bit of blue tack or put them under a corner of something. People can then take the card away and then call you back or visit your website when they've got time. Posters, I do a lot of posters. If you're going to do posters, what I recommend is A4 size paper, laminated, and just put them up on wooden telegraph poles. They seem to last a long time on there. You'll always find some people that feel they have to take them off and protect the world from your business, but usually I find that I get a lot of leads from posters because you can put them up there as long as they're well laminated, so the rain doesn't get into them. Then they're a good way to do it as well. Lots of other ideas there. I'm not going to go through them all. There are some specialist companies there, Advert Anywhere and Private Eye, companies you can buy leads from off the internet. Again, it takes you no time at all to do it, but you're having to pay for them. Your customers I've already mentioned, and 3-foot ruling, kind of similar to wearing a badge really. So hopefully that will give you some ideas. If you want to go through any of these in more detail, just please feel free to get in touch with me later or speak to your sponsor, because I'm sure your sponsors can help you with any of these you might have an interest in. And as I said right at the beginning, the more different things you try, the more fish you will catch. So here's a very simple process. This is typically what I do when I get a response to one of those adverts, one of the rods that I've been putting out there. Excuse me. So first off, someone replies to an advert. So you'll normally get an email through from your website or your contact manager or whatever telling you their details. I normally try and give them a quick call as soon as I can, just to let them know that I've got their details come through. Have a little chat, literally we're talking 30 seconds, 60 seconds here, just to say that I've got some information that I want to send to them about the business, and is this the right email address or whatever. You're just kind of breaking the ice a little bit there and letting them know that you are a real person at the end of the advert. Because sometimes people are a bit nervous because they think it could just be a scam or someone from who knows where. So give them a quick call, a quick chat, and then say, right, let me just send you some information. Normally, if I'm not able to get through to them at that point, I'll just send them either a voicemail or a text message saying that I've sent them some information to their email address usually. So I'll send them an information pack, and I'll explain in a little while what kind of information I send, so you can do the same. The next thing I do, and this was normally 24 to 48 hours afterwards, is I'll give them a call. So following up, that follow-up is really, really important. And the follow-up, I'll do what I call the feel, felt, found. So I'll ring them up, have a quick chat with them, ask them what they thought of it. And sometimes people will say, I'm not sure if it's for me really. I think there's already somebody in my area, so I don't think I'd be able to make a go of it. And I'd normally just say, oh, yeah, I know how you feel. To be honest, I felt the same. When I first started, and this is kind of my story, you'll all have your own story. When I first started, there was a lady less than a quarter of a mile from me who'd been doing the business for 7, 8, 9 years. I thought she'd have every single customer in the town. But she just told me to deliver my catalogues anyway, just in the houses near where I live. And what I found was I just picked up loads of customers in between her regulars. So by not disagreeing with them, don't say, oh no, that doesn't happen. Say, oh yeah, I know how you feel. I felt the same. It kind of lets them know that you're on their side and that you feel the same as them. But actually, what you found is it still works okay. So you're kind of not disagreeing, you're agreeing with them, but then explaining that it's still okay for them. And then hopefully, either as a result of that or whatever, they will sign up. If they decide not to, you then add them to your autoresponder, because although they might say no now, you never know when they might want to join in the future. I'm not going to explain in too much detail about autoresponders, but it's basically just a way of keeping in touch with people via email without having to send individual emails to thousands of people. Okay, let's just go back through that a little bit in a bit more detail. So when somebody replies to an advert, as I say, I normally try to call them within 24 hours. And at the beginning, really don't worry about it. Treat it like a training exercise. You will make lots of mistakes, and everyone does, and you will sign people up even though you make mistakes. To be honest, if someone's interested in joining, once they've looked at the information, they will join anyway, and all they want is somebody at the other end to do it for them. So don't worry about making mistakes. And at the beginning, just a very brief conversation. As I said, you're just building a little bit of rapport with them. If they ask you any questions, you can give them a quick summary of it. I normally just say, it's a home shopping business. We're looking for catalogue deliverers, online sellers, and team leaders, or something like that. So, literally within 10-15 seconds, you're kind of giving them a bit of an idea of what's involved. And then just ask them if they'd like some more information. I have a script which I use. If anybody wants a copy of that, I'm happy to send it on. It's very, very short. And be excited. People join the opportunity because of you, because they can hear that you're enjoying it and you're doing well out of it and you're excited by it and they want some of the same. So make sure you don't come across as, oh yeah, well, are you interested? What's happening in your life at the moment? If you come across as not enjoying yourself and just doing it because you feel you should do, then you're not going to get anybody to join. And then send them the information as soon as possible. And if there are any questions, you can clarify any answers, but I don't try to sell it to them over the phone. But as I said, don't go through nitty-gritty details of, where do you put the catalogues and how long do you leave them before you pick them up, and what if somebody does this or what. So just say, oh, look, is it okay if I send you the information? And once you've had a good look through it all, if you've still got any questions at that point, then I can answer those for you. Just because obviously you've got, hopefully, lots of other people that you're going to be calling. Okay, information that you send to them. As I've said, it's really important to have some good information to send because you don't want to have to try to explain it to them all over the phone. So there are things like the opportunity brochure and the DVD, but Kleeneze produce some top quality stuff and you should use it. If you want to send things via email, and I've got to admit I do as much of this as I possibly can, then the YouTube channel Kleeneze HQ is a great source of little videos of all the range of It Works videos, with I think there's 8 or 10 of them in the range, all sorts of successful distributors. They're just really short videos but explaining their background, why they joined and how they've been successful. So they're really good for sending to people. As I said, get their email if possible, firstly because you can send it to them straight away while they're still enthusiastic and curious, and secondly, even if they say no, you're building this big list of prospects that you can keep in touch with using your autoresponder. What else can you send your prospects? If you've got someone who's kind of interested and curious and just is asking all the right questions and kind of feels like what you might call a hot prospect, then you can send them some more glossy information. There's things like the company magazine, the Team Talk magazine are fantastic things to send to people. So always have a few spare ones of those you can send out. It'll cost you, I don't know, probably £1 in postage to send it to them, but it's such a quality magazine that's going to really help persuade them. Copies of checks is a really good thing to send them as well. So either electronically when you're sending your emails or in the post. Little testimonials. There's loads and loads of testimonials on Gavin Scott's website. Ooh, excuse me. And I also send a range of checks. So people are often joining. They're just looking for an extra £50 a week. If you send them an example of Bob Webb's check for £40,000 a month, they're going to think, oh God, this is one of those businesses where nobody earns anything until you've been in it for 20 years and then you suddenly earn loads. What they're really interested in is Katrina, the mum who was on benefits, who just joined because she needed an extra £50 or £100 a week, and what was she earning then and what's she earning now. And that's what people want to see, that they can make a small start and run at their own speed, but transform their lives. So giving them a selection of different checks is a great way to do that. There's also lots of articles from the press, newspaper cuttings, loads of stories. Peter Rear, I think, has got a good one on. If you look on his Facebook or his website, I'm sure he won't mind you borrowing that. So what else will you need? You've got the information that you're sending to your prospect now. You need to keep track of this. So if you're only speaking to 1 or 2 people a week, you might be able to remember their names and where you got to with them. But once you get beyond that, you really need to be a bit more organized. So for each prospect, and this is that lead book that I talked about at the beginning, either online in some kind of spreadsheet or document or whatever, or in your contact manager if you've got the contact manager set up, or even just in a notebook. Write down their name, their contact details, and their current status, and I don't mean kind of divorced or married. What I mean by that is how far you got in the process. So did you send them the information? Have they received it and they haven't had a chance to look at it yet? Have they looked at it and they want to discuss it with their partner? Wherever they are in the process, just make a note of that. So when you follow them up in a day or a couple of days' time, you've got your notes of what you discussed with them last time. And if you've got any current information about them, so if you hear them talking about things like, the kids, I'm sorry, I can't talk tonight, I've got a birthday party that I'm running for my little daughter, then that's useful to know. They've got a young daughter who just had a birthday. When you ring them up a couple of days later, if you just say to them something like, oh, how did that party go? You were snowed run off your feet last time when we spoke. That kind of thing that you have in common with them is just breaking the ice, building that little bit of rapport with them. And it only takes you 10 seconds just to sort of make a little note of anything that you might come across in your conversation. And then just make a note of when you spoke to them last and when you're planning to contact them next time. So that kind of acts like your diary, so you know who to contact when you're ringing them up next. If you've got prospects who are kind of curious and interested, then events are a great way to show them how big Kleeneze is and how Kleeneze is and how exciting it can be. At the moment, they probably just see it as something between you and them, and bits of information on an email or whatever. If you're able to get them to a local meeting and they see sort of 10, 20, 30 people who are all moving up on the business, they see the recognition, they get to see a business presentation, that can be really powerful in kind of showing new prospects how the business works. So invite them along to the local meetings. Guests can come along to millionaires' colleges and company events for free as well. So, if they're happy to commit a bit more time to it, then those are great things to invite them to. And if you do have a guest coming to an event, warn them a bit about the dress code. It's always smart casual, and you can get away with most things, to be honest. But if they're a painter and decorator and they come in their painting overalls covered in paint, they might feel a bit out of place. So it would be good to just warn them that it's a kind of smart casual approach. Make sure you get there nice and early so that when the guest arrives, you're there for them, and then introduce them to other people. Make them feel part of something big. Introduce them to other successful distributors and make them feel welcome. Okay, following up, this is really, really important. If you just send people information and wait for them to call you back saying, hi, I've read the email, really interested, where do we get started? You will get a few people join. You will get some keen, enthusiastic people that will call you back. But if you follow them up, you will get 10 times more team members. You will find that there are people that were interested in joining, but life gets in the way. But when you call them up and they say, oh Chris, thanks ever so much for calling back. You know what, I've been meaning to call you back for the last couple of days, but little Jimmy's been a bit poorly, so I just forgot all about it, to be honest. But actually, now that you're on the phone, can I ask you a couple of questions? And then they might ask you those questions, you clarify those for them, and they say, oh, brilliant, yeah, I think I'd really like to have a go at this. So you can then get them to join up at that point. So normally what I do with that follow-up is just after sending them the information, 24, 48 hours later, give them a quick call back. And again, it's a very short conversation. It's, what did you think? Did you get a chance to have a look at it? What did you think? And just let them talk. Let them explain what they thought about it. And as I said, you can then use the feel, felt, found. If they were sort of worried about something or they didn't think it would work for them, then just that feel, felt, found is a great way to make them feel at ease. But, and this is really, really important, don't persuade them to join. If you're having to say to them, oh, don't worry, it'll be fine, you know, I guarantee you put 100 catalogues out, you'll get £500 worth of orders, it'll be really great. All that you're doing is persuading them to join by kind of trying to convince them. And once they join, if they come across any kind of challenges, which everybody does, you know, the first time they have a poor pickup or they lose a couple of catalogues or they have a grumpy customer, they're going to blame you because you said everything will be fantastic and they'd earn loads of money. They have to decide for themselves. All you can do is make sure that you've answered their questions and presented the information to them. And then, hopefully, out of all of that, you've done everything that we've been through, you will have somebody that comes to you and says, Graham, I'd love to join Kleeneze, which is so exciting. And the first time you do it, what I'd recommend is you ask your upline to help you with it. It's not that complicated now. It's the online sign-up process is significantly easier than it was just a year ago. But if you're not sure how to do it, your online can help you. And always do it with them. If you, I would say as much as you possibly can. It is slightly less fraught with danger now. But if you can do it with them, face-to-face is brilliant because it already starts to build that rapport with them. Or otherwise on the phone. It only takes 10 minutes plus any questions. If you just send them the link and leave them to get on with it without telling them anything about how to go through it, and just say, oh yeah, I'll send you the link when you're finished, you know, let me know, or I'll call you in a few days once you've done it. People will have doubts. They'll get halfway through and they'll see something in the terms and conditions, or they'll not be sure what a caterpillar is, and rather than call you up, they'll say, oh, maybe I've changed my mind, and they'll stop. And it's really difficult to get them back. Whereas if you're on the phone with them, you can just, you know, walk them through it very easily, explain all the different bits, and it'll go smooth as silk. And all you do to sign them up, you just log on to your kleeneze.co.uk. You need to take a few details from them and you send them an email. It's very simple. Hopefully, as I said, your sponsor will help you do that. What I found really useful was just printing off the screen snapshot so I can see what they are going through, if you see what I mean. So it's on the DSA. You can follow that link there under the kind of operations manuals and guides. And there's an online registration guide, and you can just print that off or print the key screens from that. And all I'm doing is, as I'm going through, I'm saying to them, okay, top right hand corner, you should see this, fill in these bits here. At the bottom, click on this button, and the next screen should say this, and then I wait for them to do that. And then when they say, oh yes, it's come up now, I say, oh yeah, and now on that screen, do this, do this, do this. And it just puts them at ease because you're kind of always one step ahead of them explaining what they've got to do next. Anticipate any questions that they might have. Once you've done it a few times, you'll start to see the areas where people have a few queries. But it's very straightforward these days. Once it's finished, just welcome them to the team. I normally have a little chat with them then, if I don't know already, just trying to understand what they want from Kleeneze, whether they're just looking for an extra £50 a week, or looking to replace a full-time income maybe, or if they're after serious money, because the more you know about them, the more you can help them. Okay, so that's quickly what we've been through. You should now know all of those things there, whether you have to build a team or not, why you should build a team, how the value of doing that, what tools you need, a good way to get started. As I said there, talk about talking to your warm list. I talked a bit about the different rods in the pond, and then we went through in a fair bit of detail what to do when you get a lead. I would recommend that you go through this again with your sponsor so that they can kind of fine-tune, if you like, what they do and help you with that. What information to send their prospects and how to do that follow-up. So I hope that all makes sense, guys. That was webinar number 4, as I said, team building for dummies, or team building for beginners. Next week we're going to be talking about how to support your new team members. So if you work your butts off and put into action what I've just showed you, then next week you'll have some new team members and want to know how to support them. I mentioned earlier about the recording, so these are all recorded. If anybody wants to watch this again or look at any of the other 7 webinars, you can find them all on YouTube. If you just go onto YouTube there and do a quick search on Chris Smith Kleeneze. You'll find me on there, and you'll find all the webinars. And feel free to subscribe to my channel. Then you'll get a little notification every time I put up a new webinar up there. Okay guys, I'm just going to stop the recording now.